Washington, D.C. as the Xavier Musketeers. Sean Miller, who for the last 4 seasons was the associate head coach under Thad Matta, part of the terrific run, and now takes over this program. The former University of Pittsburgh point guard Karl Hobbs, another one of the absolutely terrific young head coaches in college basketball. 8 years as assistant at UConn, now in his 4th season, leading the fortunes of the Colonials of George Washington. Let's take a look at the starting lineups at 10 on the floor. A couple of changes. You see that front line of Brian Thornton, along with Justin Cage and Justin Dolman, with Diedrich Finn and Stanley Burrell. So the change comes for Karl Hobbs as Omar Williams and Mike Hall will be joined by Alex Kiriev instead of Pops Mensah-Bonsu in the middle. And it'll be J.R. Pinnock getting the call instead of T.J. Chopson, along with Carl Elliott in the backcourt. John Spencer, it's time for you to go to work. How about our Pontiac keys to the game? What about success for Xavier?
I tell you what, for Xavier, the most important thing for Xavier is to knock down open shots. They executed their game plan against Temple to perfection. The only problem was they were not able to knock down their shots. On the other side, they must also go out and handle GW's pressure in the full court press. For GW, the most important thing for them is to protect the basketball. Against Richmond, they carried out 26 turnovers, unheard of in a college basketball game at this level. They also have to get Pops Mensah-Bonsu inspired, hitting the glass, along with T.J. Thompson. Has to overcome that injury, and Pops must overcome that broken nose.
So Pops not getting the start tonight, and neither is T.J. Chopson. They're 5'10", senior point guard and leading scorer. Xavier's won 7 of the last 8. They're a +9. The series tied 5-5 right here. Last time they got together in the A-10 semis, it was all Xavier. The homestanding Colonials of George Washington without 2 of their starters now tonight. We'll see how that plays out as Carl Elliott looks at this Xavier zone.
Well, Michael, maybe Coach Hobbs is trying to inspire Pops to become a lot more consistent around the glass with rebounding. As you see right now, Kiriev gets an offensive rebound.
Omar Williams didn't finish with a left hand, and neither did 6'11" junior from the Ukraine, Alex Kiriev. So a couple of opportunities go by the wayside, and now that pressure comes from Karl Hobbs, George Washington defense.
You know, I was speaking earlier today to the SID Tom Iser about Finn playing point guard. Since he's such a good shooter from outside, I'd like to see him pushed over to the 2 position and allow for Burrell to bring the ball up the court.
Not Diedrich Finn. This is Justin Dolman to raise up. That first triple not dropping tonight for Xavier. They offered 36 trades the other day in their defeat at home at the Cintas Center as Temple got them in Cincinnati. Carl Elliott looking to work off that pick of Kiriev.
And it's interesting, already Xavier's come out in the zone and try to slow down the dribble penetration already by the GWT.
You know, Sean Miller talking to Miller and the coaching staff of Xavier. They said, hey, we know that George Washington turned it over 26 times, but we had plenty of problems of our own to try to deal with Temple. That shot clock now at 6. That deep 3 drawing rim from J.R. Pinnock. Now Thornton underneath the hole. Brian Thornton running the floor, the big man going 94 feet and dropping it down. Thornton, strong, averaging almost 13 a game.
Well, I'll tell you, Kiriev is going to have to be conscious of him running because he runs the break very well. He finishes well around the basket, too. So Kiriev has to make a concerted effort to get back down the floor.
Off the Elliott miss, Stanley Burrell to lift that triple, and he'll knock it down. Now they're saying that he had that foot on the arc. So give him just the 2, and Karl Hobbs has seen enough. He wants a quick timeout in transition, John. Xavier getting the ball off the glass and running the floor for 2 quick hoops.
Well, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to be able to score off your transition. And if you're successful at that, you put the other team on their heels. And right now you can see Burrell spotting up for the 3, not even thinking about going to the basket. He knocks it down. And for Xavier to go out and win this game, they must knock down the jump shot.
Well, you see the Musketeers just 1 game over the 500 mark, but how about that glorious ride last year with the likes of Lionel Chalmers and Romain Sato, both in the NBA, and Anthony Miles playing overseas. So they lose those 3 starters. But this is one of the only 3 schools, John, that has won at least 25 games in each of the last 3 years. And of course, Thad Matta then goes to Ohio State and turns it over to Sean Miller.
And with their reputation, they're going to continue to win 20 to 25 games every year because they have a great recruiting process. It's a school that's based off of academic first, and kids come here and they graduate at the same time.
J.R. Pinnock in that backcourt now as T.J. Chopson has joined the fray. That's Omar Williams with that baseline look, and we've got a whistle off the basketball, and that's going to be a Xavier foul. And it is going to go on Stanley Burrell, but George Washington comes out chilly, just like this January weather here in the nation's capital. John, they're 0 for 5.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that it's chilly. I mean, Pops doesn't start. The intensity level is entirely different than we would normally see from a GWT.
Xavier, his own defensive look, giving Carl Hobbs offensive problems. Mensah-Bonsu in traffic. And the big fella from London, England at 6'9", who averages 13.5 points and 7 rebounds, is going to get to the free throw line. And John, no mask for Pops Mensah-Bonsu.
No, he's not wearing the mask because he does not have peripheral vision. But what I want to show you is that that defense is soft. No one has their hands up guarding the basketball. The ball floats inside twice. Kuriev had the ball. Pops also gets the ball very easy. They need to be a lot more intense on that zone defense.
You know, here in the nation's capital, as Carl Hobbs knows full well, they'll make megastars out of anybody who shows the proficiency to want to take on the role. How about the start that Pops Mensah-Bonsu had as he drops a couple of free throws down during non-conference play, especially in that tournament wins over Michigan State and Maryland to get him in the top 25.
And you know what? He deserved it. He worked really hard. He's very athletic. He cares about the game of basketball. But Carl Hobbs' only problem with Pops Mensah-Bonsu right now is that he's not consistent enough.
And not wearing the mask, so we'll keep an eye on that. Mensah-Bonsu with a rip away. A lot of numbers. Pops wanted to throw that hard, and he got drilled by Xavier's Justin Cage on the elevation from Mensah-Bonsu, and he wanted to bring that down with a flurry.
Hey, Mike, this is spooky. You see Pop goes up. Cage, intentionally, he goes after the ball, not the body, but Pop gets up, kind of nervous, broken nose already. You don't want to see a great player like Pop get out of a game just because of a hard foul in transition.
6'9", 240-pound junior. He'll come up short on that first free throw attempt. There's George Washington. They're sailing along. As we said, they get in the top 25 on the strength of those back-to-back. And less than in 48 hours, they put together wins over Michigan State and Maryland, who were both ranked at the time. Mensah-Bonsu comes up a wanting as he misfired on 2 free throws. But and they got beat by UMass here at home at the buzzer. We talked about came back to win against LaSalle, but then go down to Richmond and drop that one.
Well, I think you need to take a look at the Atlantic 10 Conference overall. I mean, the Atlantic 10 have gone outside and beat people like Kansas, North Carolina State.
Mensah-Bonsu on the run out, rocking that rim. John, he challenges the jumper for Brian Thornton and then is on the run out, and Mensah-Bonsu's bringing energy.
Well, exactly. I mean, Kuriev goes off. He starts the game. Pops decides, hey, look, you know what? I need to make something happen when I get in here. And this is what he does. He brings the crowd to its feet. And these fans have ultimately been the factor in a lot of good home wins for GW.
Does he send it down strong? We said in the open of the show, this is one of the most creative and hard finishing throwdown guys in college hoops.
Well, he's a man. If you look at that body, he has the physical presence of a man. And when he goes to throw that ball down, it goes through the hoop.
We take a look at all you got to do is get right up to number 1 when you speak of the tops offensively in the Atlantic 10. As we said, the average 81 a game. That's 10 better than their opponent tonight, number 2 Xavier, and lead the Atlantic 10 as GW in field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, assists, and we're going to get an offensive foul that's going to go on Xavier's 6'6" sophomore, Justin Cage. He was trying to set that screen for Sean Miller's offense and got hit with the illegal pick.
Justin Cage has a body like a football player. He can play running back or linebacker on anybody's team, but he's a very good basketball player, and the referee's going to call this game tight because you have 2 very active, aggressive, and physical teams.
So Maurice Rice on the floor now. Rice, young man, a freshman out of Philadelphia. This is Mike Hall. Hall has had a solid year. Mensah-Bonsu with strength with that big-time smash as Hall found him underneath the rack.
I think they better leave that mask at home.
dynamic beginning after not starting for Pops Mensah-Bonsu. 6-0 run, all from Mensah-Bonsu. Does Justin Dolman end that George Washington run as he splashes that three as he was left wide open on the baseline.
Now, he has one of the sweetest jump shots in college basketball.
I know you like him. My partner was comparing him to one Lawrence Bird before the game this evening.
Is that guy from French Lick, Indiana, someplace?
Not far away from Kentucky. Now that triple from Stanley Burrell wouldn't drop. He's got a whistle. And that battle for the basketball, and that is going to go on Brian Thornton, the 6'8" junior out of Louisville. A most explosive beginning in the first 4 minutes and some change in this one, and it's all been Pops Mensah-Bonsu for G. Washington. Mensah-Bonsu with two big throwdowns. Xavier by one. As Xavier has opened up this very slight advantage, and Pops Mensah-Bonsu off to the very energized start after not starting, but about 10 days ago against UMass, this is how he sustained that injury, John. Yeah, he was playing against what we call Big Deli, and you can see gets hit with an elbow right across the bridge of his nose on the rebound, broke his nose, came back into the game, and you see him squinting up right now. Pops does not have his mask on. There was a debate earlier whether he was going to have his mask on or not because the mask obstructed his vision, but right now it doesn't seem like he has any vision problems at all. He has brought plenty of potency with him off the bench after not getting the start tonight. Mensah-Bonsu. There's a couple of strong throwdowns, and now J.R. Pinnock running baseline. He'll thump it down as Pinnock was unencumbered. There wasn't a Xavier blue shirt near him. You remember what we talked about a little bit earlier? We talked about that zone and how soft it was, and there's one of the situations where easy passes are getting to the basket. All three George Washington field goal makes tonight high above the rim on those throwdowns. And on the ball pressure starting to extend a little bit for George Washington. We got a whistle off the ball. Our officiating trio tonight of Carl Hess, Jeffrey Clark, and John Hughes. And that did not make Carl Hobbs happy. So Pops Mensah-Bonsu will give way again to Alex Curia. Michael, it's been one of the problems of Pops all year. You know, you talk about his inconsistent play. One of the things he's been really consistent is picking up fouls early, so he's not able to get the quality minutes that he actually deserves. So he will sit now while Alex Curia checks in. This is Justin Dolman. He is shut off by Mike Hall. Keith Jackson, the only senior on this Xavier ball club. Dolman's got a clean look. And that is going to be Alex Curia on that George Washington foul as Dolman. Well, Justin Dolman at 6'9". We told you Xavier shot 36 triples the other afternoon at home in the loss to Temple. And Justin Dolman, top three-point shooters on this ball club. Matter of fact, he is tied with Stanley Burrell. Burrell had a look at three. And that Burrell miss is pulled off by Hall. Great run of the floor as J.R. Pinnock again running out on that edge. Went last to finish it. You want to talk about Xavier shooting the three. They've already got 4 3-pointers already up in this half. There's a steal. Stolen away. Pick in the pocket of Diedrich Finn is Maurice Rice for the quick hoop. And this is that full court pressure that we're talking about that Xavier must handle. Well, George Washington now up by 5 at 12-7. This is a 6-0 GW run, and that blocking foul is going to go on J.R. Pinnock. Pinnock, the sophomore out of the state of Georgia. As we look at that rip away by Maurice Rice, John. Perfect, clean. You never expect for a freshman to be that quick in anticipating a dribble. He picked off the steal and had the presence of mind to finish with an easy layup. Well, Carl Hobbs are going to make substitutions now on that George Washington bench. Ricky Lucas, a sophomore out of Herndon, Virginia, on good look inside to Will Caudle. And Caudle, the 6'9" junior from Indiana, got that pass from Stanley Burrell and dropped it in the hoop. So Caudle getting a call here off the bench early on Sean Miller. And you can credit that basket to Pops Mensah-Bonsu because he's in the bench. Pops is a lot more aggressive than Curia is, so expect for Xavier to score a lot easier
with Pops out of the game.
Omar Williams turned it over. Look at Keith Jackson rise high and bring it down hard as Stanley Burrell found Jackson running the floor. So here comes Xavier now with his 4-0 mini run that ended the 6-0 George Washington run. As the Colonials on top by 1 at 12-11. Now, we told you, we promised, didn't we, John, when we came on tonight? Two top offensive teams in the A10. If you like the flair and flavor, you're going to see it.
Oh, you're definitely going to see it. I mean, you have high flyers, you have great jump shooters, you have guys that can dribble, penetrate. They can do it all.
J.R. Pinnock will lift that jumper. Keith Jackson got control of the basketball, and now Stanley Burrell out of the pack. Dolman will put it on the deck and gave it right up to Omar Williams. Pinnock trying to push, and Diedrich Finn, transition defense. Finn with a quick hand.
But you got to get back in transition. Dolman should have known better to pass that ball through the traffic, not recognizing who was actually trailing. And on the other end of the floor, Pinnock has to see, they have to hear the footsteps behind you, like old football players used to do in that little drill. Listen for the footsteps.
Well, Xavier with a couple of substitutions. Churchill Odia, the young freshman from Nigeria, on the floor. And the same with GW as Pops Mensah-Bonsu along with Mike Hall and Carl Elliott. Three of the normal starters for Carl Hobbs all checked back in. Thompson to hoist that long three. It was halfway down and rattled out. And it's going Xavier's way. Last touch from Mensah-Bonsu underneath the hoop on the baseline.
I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing out of Pops. He's showing a lot of energy. He's crashing the boards. One of the things about Pops is that he doesn't average, double-figure rebounds, but he's the type of player that can.
You were a guy that liked to bang bodies underneath the hoops. I could tell that Mensah-Bonsu's got you inspired.
Well, you know what? Anytime you see someone that active and love the game that much, they always inspire you.
Now off that George Washington rip away, Lucas will turn it right back over. Churchill Odia crossed over, went all the way to the hoop to finish.
Churchill is one of those guards that they expect to go out and perform a lot better than he has in past games. They're trying to bring him along slowly, but now in the Atlantic 10 Conference play, he's really going to have to step up his game.
Xavier on a 6-0 run. Churchill Odia finishing there. And the Musketeers back on top. We're inside the 12-minute mark here in the opening half. Stick around. You're going to enjoy tonight. Now this is Thompson. Again, came up short. Had a good look at that jumper. George Washington with that offensive board from Mike Hall. Lucas gave it up, but touching up that jumper is Mike Hall. Well, Mike Hall has just in talking to the GW coaching staff, Roland Houston, he's so consistent. Double-double guy every night. Just mark it down. They know exactly what they're going to get. That's comforting for a coaching staff, isn't it?
Well, you're going to have one guy on your team like that that's going to pull that team together. A lot of people think TJ is the sole leader on this team, but no. Mike Hall does all the little small things, the intangibles, the steals, the defense, the block shots, and he leads the team in rebounding.
Yeah, that he does. Now off that Burrell missed three. This is Keith Jackson. Jackson can't triple. Xavier with the 36 threes the other afternoon, and not shy about triggering from deep here tonight. Going glass, Pops Mensah-Bonsu. He pulled that off his hip, John, and triggered that real quickly.
How many guys did he have around him, Michael? He had 3 guys around him. They still couldn't stop him.
The man with all the numbers, Marty Aronoff, telling us that Pops Mensah-Bonsu didn't get the start tonight, but he's 3 for 3 from the floor. He's got 8. George Washington back on top. This is Will Caudle. Muscling that up, going glass, and got it to drop. So Caudle with a couple of hoops. Off Sean Miller's bench.
Mike, it would be interesting to see Caudle play together along with Dolman and Thornton in the game. Give Xavier a very big lineup to see if GW can actually challenge someone that size, some team that size.
Going for that steal right in front of us. The senior out of Cincinnati, Keith Jackson, as he had a hand on the basketball in the passing lane. Now, this one is going to be 40 minutes worth of up and down, high-energy basketball as Churchill Odia off the steal and the run of the floor. GW by 1. Back inside the Smith Center, I want to remind you this copyrighted telecast is produced by authority of the Atlantic 10 Conference and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, Retransmission or other use of all the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this one without the express written consent of the Atlantic 10 Conference is strictly prohibited. George Washington on top. Xavier 6 of 7 from inside the arc, but only 1 of 7 from three-point land. And Mensah-Bonsu has been a definite difference maker since coming off the bench. Xavier's turned it over 5 times.
Pop's in limited time, 3 for 3, has 8 points, 2 rebounds. He's very active, and he's also forced a couple of turnovers. We talked about the keys to the game, and one of the keys is to control the ball. You know, Xavier has 5 turnovers, GW has 3, but you can't score when you turn the ball over. And the other, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, these in kind of developing what you were talking about, John, and this, as we take a look at Will Caudle checking back in, but Xavier beating George Washington 2 or 3 times last year, but the one here in the Smith Center really got away because of the turnover problems of Xavier and Mensah-Bonsu and friends. This went on a dunk fest to blow up the Musketeers.
Right, and as you see, another turnover by GW. The count is now 5-4. And this is a situation where when you're coach, and even for announcers on the sideline, you want to see a more smoother game. You want to see players be able to actually go out and show their ability on the court. You can't do it when you turn the ball over.
Just had a look at 2 of the brightest young coaching minds in all of college basketball, and it's a thrill to have them here in the A10 with Sean Miller at Xavier and Carl Hobbs, who took his Colonials to an NIT berth last year after they finished 18-12. Look at the pressure defense from J.R. Pinnock.
And they're daring Odia to go to his left. They're daring him.
Churchill Odia made an impression early. That's going to be on Carl Elliott. That's a 4th team foul, and of course, team fouls hit 7. Start shooting them, and then the one and bonus when they hit 10. It's
dangerous.
That is 2 shots in the line. You're in trouble usually.
Well, I'll tell you, talking about the keys again to the game, you just mentioned there 1 for 7 Xavier from outside the arc. They got to knock down those shots if they're going to take them.
Now the veteran Keith Jackson trying to force that up in the paint. You see the lively legs of J.R. Pinnock, the young man out of Georgia, the super sophomore, 2nd leading scorer on the squad. And Carl Hobbs off the bench. It's a wide open look at that triple off the baseline for Maurice Rice, and he'll ring it up.
Maurice Rice hit 2 key baskets in that UMass game to help take over the lead.
Will Caudle off the spin, and they send it down with the left hand.
Hey, you sound like Bill Walton up in here, but I tell you, nothing can shut you up faster than a Xavier GW ball game. Because once you want to go out and make a point, somebody's scoring all over again.
Now Rice gave it up. We've got a whistle that just as Carl Elliott was ready to unload that 3, and that 3-second call got Pops Mensah-Bonsu. So for Xavier, Justin Cage is back. Cage, who averages 12 points and almost 5 boards a game. Cage had the big game against Temple the other afternoon. Really the only Musketeer who shot the basketball with any proficiency. He went 6 of 11 with 16 points and 8 rebounds.
Former Mr. Indiana can play the game of basketball, knows how to put it on the floor to get to the basket, but he's persistent. He's not just going to beat you because he's going to beat you with skill shots. He's going to beat you also off of hustle and desire.
Sean Miller speaking about that to us before this one tonight. We approach the 8-minute mark. That shot clock now at 10. This is Diedrich Finn. Diedrich Finn, extremely athletic. The stick back didn't go down as well. And Josh Junkin, who's checked in. Now I'll take that away. That's an offensive foul on J.R. Pinnock. Pinnock floating it up and down, but got whistled for that contact of the offensive foul.
You know, we've been here since about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and we've seen J.R. Pinnock go out and practice his shot for almost an hour. Now, I don't know if it was an offensive foul or not. It's not my call, but I tell you what, in any other league, in any other place in the world, that basket is probably good.
Now the NBA, there's that restricted area, that 6-foot line. Turn it over to Xavier as Josh Duncan tried to make that difficult pass in traffic. George Washington by 2 and with it. Rice thought about the 3. Pinnock will raise up baseline. Kyrie Curiev to fight it up, and he's going to the free throw line. Boy, this sold-out throng of about 5,000 in the Smith Center loves the 6'11" junior from the Ukraine, Alex Curiev, with strength on the offensive glass. And we're inside that 8-minute mark. We'll get a timeout. Come on back with us. George Washington by 2. Packets at the Smith Center. Plenty of high-octane up-and-down offense early. George Washington on top of Xavier by 2. How did the preseason A-10 media feel at the West Division with the shakeout? John, George Washington and Xavier were the preseason choices. The Colonials to win it, Xavier to finish second. How do they stand right now on this 25th of January? How about Brian Gregory and his Dayton Flyers sneaking up on everybody with their young basketball team winning 4 of 5 with George Washington the game behind.
Now, you know Coach Gregory doesn't play. I mean, this is a guy coming from a great program at Michigan State, inheriting a great team last year over at Dayton. And he has the type of ability to pull a team together because he's what we call a player's coach.
Mm-hmm. All you guys love to go out on the floor for those players' coaches. Right? I always had a question about that, though. Oh, ex-player you. Does that mean that those were the guys that really didn't work you too hard? Or just guys that you really love to go out and run through the wall for?
Well, I tell you what, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, these are the coaches who would work you to death and who would try to draw everything out of you, but they were kind enough and wonderful enough as people to nurture a relationship with you to help you understand the things that are going to happen on and off the court.
Very well said. Of course, I was jesting when I spoke of how you players look at your coach. We know all the A-10 coaches work the ball clubs hard. That's Diedrich Finn delivering that long-range 3. Diedrich Finn, such a big part of that Elite 8 Xavier march deep into the NCAA tournament last March. Diedrich Finn, who has come back as a junior now. We've got a whistle off the basketball. Now it's Sean Miller's turn to say what? And that foul went on Josh Junkin as we go back at Diedrich Finn.
Very different ball club for Diedrich Finn. He's used to playing with David West, Romain Sato, Lionel Chalmers, Anthony Miles. A whole different crew for him right now. So he has to figure what his role is and how he can pull these guys together to become a better basketball team. The season is important, but it's more important when A-10 championship play comes.
Pops Mensah-Bonsu not able to connect on that first free throw. And then that was team foul number 8 on Xavier. So a couple more, and GW's in that double bonus. We come to the 7-minute mark. Great to have you part of it tonight here on the Atlantic 10 Television Network out of the Smith Center in our nation's capital. Two of the best in the A-10 West going at one another. Diedrich Finn, a look at that triple again. This one came up on the side of the iron. Mensah-Bonsu will give it up. Still feeling it, Maurice Rice. Mensah-Bonsu, that's demonic with a purpose all over the offensive glass.
You know, Marty, our stat guy, gave me a note at the break, and he says, you know what, there are 5 dunks in the game. Marty has 6 dunks now. I just want you to know. GW has 4 dunks, Xavier has 2, and Pops has 3 of the 4 GW dunks.
He's possessed the way he's going after the basketball. Caudle didn't finish underneath the rim. George Washington always looking to push it. Backdoor to Pinnock. Threw it over the rim. Mike Hall with muscle, and that'll go down. Hall in traffic. Third in the A-10 on the rebounding side. You see why right there. And Sean Miller needs a Xavier timeout.
Well, right now, GW has 10 second chance points. Coach Miller understands exactly what's going on in the game. He's trying to rattle his team, picking up a technical foul, trying to protect what's going on in the game. Call a timeout to try to rally the run.
Now, Mike Hall, as we mentioned, number 3 in the A-10 of the rebounding side. And Mensah-Bonsu, is it with a purpose? Off the Rice miss, John?
Well, I tell you what, this is what I like about that entire play. Pops caught the ball right about the mid-post range. Normally, when he was a freshman or a sophomore, he would try to run over you. He'll try to go out and get that basket anyway. He had the presence of mind to stop, find the open player in Rice. Shot goes up. He followed his shot, got the rebound, and stuck it back in. That's a great effort by Pops.
The very creative George Washington student section, of course. There you go. Of course, Pops on the cereal box.
Give that kid an A in marketing 101.
Give him his undergrad degree right away. Sean Miller, by the way, just got hit with a technical foul as Miller exploded off that that Xavier bench, and that's going to send Mike Hall to the free throw line to try to expand this Colonials lead to a half dozen.
Michael, you've been around a million basketball games, and you know as well as anyone a technical foul is not necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes when you feel like your team is losing control and things are getting out of hand, it's up to a coach to go out and change some things. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And as a player, I bet all of you guys would say to one another, Coach just took that one for us.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's when you know he's also a player's coach.
By Sean Miller, what a wonderful pedigree. Associate head coach at Xavier under Thad Matta, as we mentioned, a part of those 3 straight years of 25 wins. But does he get nothing but bouquets, and rightfully so, from everybody in the college basketball world?
Well, I'll tell you, it started when he was 11. He was putting on shows, on basketball shows. He goes, he stays home in Pittsburgh. He takes Pitt to the upper echelon of college basketball. Great player in the Big East. He's able to transition everything that he's done as a player onto the coaching ground right now. His father's a great mentor for him as well, too.
High school basketball coach, his dad, near the Pittsburgh area in PA. As you look at Xavier's Josh Dunkett, the 6'9" freshman out of Cincinnati, to have a seat. Justin Dolman has returned. George Washington dialing up the pressure here in the last couple of minutes. Look at how they extend that defense. And Lucas just got planted. Keith Jackson rocking the rim as he ran baseline. So the senior very productive here for the Musketeers off the bench.
Well, we talked earlier that Xavier's not getting enough production off that bench, and the person that they look forward to adding that spark would be Keith Jackson, and tonight he's rising to that occasion.
Mike Hall. Closed out on by Justin Dolman. Lucas will slash.
It's a great closeout by Jackson.
Yeah, Elliott thought about it. Justin Dolman with that rip away, stepped to the passing lane in front of Mensah-Bonsu.
And take a look at Pops. He knew that pass shouldn't have came inside. And Carl Hobbs knows, and he says, okay, I got to get TJ back in the game because I need some leadership on the floor.
Well, Carl Elliott putting pressure on the basketball. Churchill, Odia finds Caudle under the rim. Will Caudle, he and Keith Jackson off the bench. Big factors for Xavier.
Yeah, but that play was made by Odia, going to the basket, cupped it, going to the hole, drew the double team, and was smart enough to drop it off.
Will Caudle, the 6'9" junior out of Indianapolis, having a huge first half offensively. Already got 8. Mensah-Bonsu in traffic. Mike Hall with that jump hook. Look at the lively legs of J.R. Pinnock. You can count that. +1 coming on that Xavier foul.
Pops need to be careful. He's really being aggressive right now. I saw him come up holding his nose a little bit. It's not that important to go after every ball in that aggressive of a way. You already got 1 foul. You're the leading spark plug for your team, and you don't want to go after every rebound in a way where you may put your team in jeopardy.
7 offensive boards for 12 George Washington points. Off that loss at Richmond, John, I think Carl Hobbs got his message across because this front line of George Washington really going to the glass strong.
Yeah, but another message that he has to get across, and I'm sure he's going to talk to him about at halftime, is turning that ball over. This game, if they play consistently the way they should and not turn that ball over, this probably be a lot more open game because Xavier's not missing shots. I mean, they're missing shots. But on the other side, GW not getting as many shots as they could take because they turned the ball over.
Now we hit the 4-minute mark left. Excitement in this first half here inside the Smith Center. Just as advertised, Caudle with that drop step and a left-handed jump hook that's right there.
You know, I'm wondering if Thornton is out of the game because he actually has an injury with his leg as well too, and I don't think he can go as hard.
That's Ricky Lucas as he drops that 3. Now Lucas off this bench with J.R. Pinnock, who actually got the starting call tonight, provided some long-range offense for Carl Hobbs. Well, the lead is up to a half dozen again. And that is going to be a push on T.J. Thompson, the senior point guard from Germantown, Maryland. Will get whistled. Will Caudle coming off the bench and absolutely shining here in the opening half for Xavier. GW by 6. reminder, time for us to take a look at our Canon Business Solutions game story. Tight one here. Both clubs shooting it real well, John.
Well, you have to shoot the ball well in the Atlantic 10 Conference if you want to go out and win a ball game. But the most impressive thing about today's game is the energy by both teams. And one of the persons that we talked about earlier in our telecast was Mensah-Bonsu. Pops is the type of guy that brings instant energy. Didn't start tonight, but you can see right now, throwing the ball down, and this is what he does best. He gets around that basket. Michael, he's not going to let you out. He's going to put you in. And here's the situation where he's a double team, and with his strength and with his size, he knows how to finish anyway. Check this one out.
Bruising the rim at the offensive end is Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who without the face mask, he was the A-10's most improved player last year. Terrific numbers as he upped everything, and came into tonight shooting 56% for the floor, and 4 times has been above that 20-point barrier. So we approach the 3-minute mark now. Diedrich Finn, Stanley Burrell with Will Caudle, Keith Jackson, and Justin Dolman. The 5 on the floor for Sean Miller and Xavier.
You know, I might get shot for saying this, but this might be their best offensive team on the floor.
Look at the ball fake by Burrell. He'll touch that up and get it to drop. Keep an eye on this fabulous freshman. He is a skilled offensive talent.
Well, we haven't heard much from him the first half. I was just thinking that we got, well, I'm sorry, Coach Miller should get him into the game a lot more. But being a freshman, sometimes you lose where you are, like now on defense.
How about the look from Alex Xavier as he found Ricky Lucas slashing to the rim for the Lucas field goal hit.
And you're not going to see Burrell make a lot of those mistakes. But what I was saying is that he's the type of kid who can get you points in bunches if you get him the opportunity.
Diedrich Finn had to force that, but because Curia challenged in the paint.
So why take that shot? Set your team, pull it back out, set up an offense, and get a good shot.
Ricky Lucas can't drop that 3. He had a clean look at it. 6'1" Diedrich Finn to the offensive end for Xavier. Burrell thought about that 3 from in Baltimore, I think, and then turned it over. Thompson will give it up. He wanted Pinnock, and it was stolen away by Keith Jackson, who comes out of the pack for Xavier.
You know what? It's nice to see Keith Jackson contributing in more ways than just scoring. He's hustling up and down the court, helping his team out a whole lot.
It's Justin Dolman off that missed 3. Up and down we go with 1:40 left in this opening half. Pops Mensah-Bonsu gets that respite right now. That deep 3 off that right baseline from Andrew Thompson didn't go.
Burrell is complaining because he was boxing out. He felt like the player went off his back. He didn't get a call.
Take a look at our U.S. Airways out-of-town scoreboard as Phil Martelli and the Hawks of St. Joe's will get going at home against the Quakers of Penn. So one of those Big 5 battles, huh? In the city of brotherly love. Huh?
There's a lot of sports going on in Philadelphia right now. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do it at the Palestra tonight. Caudle now to step out on the floor. And jumper a little bit too strong. Jackson on the offensive glass. Now Dolman put it on the deck and had it ripped away. Turnover Xavier. All the way to the hole, Maurice Rice off that hesitation, and he's going to get to the free throw line.
But we're just talking about energy, and it's hard. It's not difficult to get energy when you're watching this brand of basketball. As you can see, it's still coming up. Watch the hesitation move by Rice. Throws Dolman for a second, calls the foul, going to the line to shoot 2. Smart play by the front.
Though, huh?
Exactly.
Very much under control. Well, Maurice Rice, he said the freshman 6'1" out of that championship city of Philadelphia. As Xavier has not been to the free throw line tonight, while George Washington now 6 of 11 from the stripe. And when you mention Wilt Chamberlain's name, in reverence we do, by the way, the late great Wilton Norman Chamberlain, but Maurice Rice broke all his marks. Pinnock to raise up off the Rice miss, and that floater in the paint goes down for J.R. Pinnock. He's a scoring machine off the bench.
Well, I tell you, Rice is the type of player who can do it all for you. You're talking about Wilt Chamberlain and all of his great scoring records. Look at the size difference between Wilt and Rice.
That's Josh Duncan, who dropped that long-range 3. So Duncan at 6'9", the freshman out of Moeller High School in the Queen City of Cincinnati, part of a state championship team for Moeller. And you thought they were just known for their prowess on the gridiron, right?
Some coach went from Mullen to try to coach college football and didn't do it. But I won't mention any names.
No names, please. We got a 5-second differential between game and shot clock as we wind it down. Pinnock thought about pulling the trigger. Shot clock at 4. Forcing it up in traffic off that baseline, and now trying to save was Carl Elliott. And with 6.4 left, it's going back to Xavier. Remind you, coming up at halftime, we'll take an up-close and personal look at senior George Washington point guard T.J. Thompson, who averages 15 a game to lead this George Washington ball club. All of that and a whole lot more with 3 seconds left. And that's going to be a push. Did it go on Diedrich Finn? They say he just stepped out of bounds. He lost the basketball and stepped on that sideline and turned it over. Did Diedrich Finn.
Well, you're always taught from grade 1 the pass is a lot more efficient dribbling, getting the ball up the court than the dribble. You got 6 seconds. You look the ball up the floor. You try to get somebody else to get the ball and score for the basket. Don't just dribble it up by yourself, Michael.
From about 55 feet or so, Mike Hall had to hoist that as we've got 20 minutes of basketball in the book. George Washington just absolutely paralyzed Xavier on the glass. 15-second chance points for the Colonials against Sean Miller's Xavier Musketeers. A lot of halftime coming up. Don't go away. Good one going on between two that were expected to be at the top of the A-10 West. Pops Mensah-Bonsu so strong. George Washington by 5.
Things to do now.
Did very, very well. The big difference, GW on the glass and with those second chance points, John.
I mean, anytime you get 2 or 3 or 4 opportunities to go out and score a basket, it's going to break the other team's back. But the most impressive stat of the night for both coaches should be the bench points.
We told you to keep a keen eye on the action underneath the hoop.
Time after time.
Folds. Will Caudle came off the bench. And Keith Jackson off the bench for 4, along with Stanley Burrell for Xavier. And Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who did not start, authored 9. And J.R. Pinnock, who did get the start, he called tonight. Mensah-Bonsu with 10 and J.R. Pinnock with 9. So that sets everything up for this second half of basketball. This is Brian Thornton with muscle off that left block, and that jump hook will go down. And they've been waiting. Thornton didn't get much run in the first half, John.
Well, that hook came with the elbow around Pops Mensah-Bonsu's body to clear out some space so he can get to that jump hook.
And Brian Thornton, who averages 12.5 points per game, and now Omar Williams is trying to operate toward the hoop. And that foul is going to go on big Brian Thornton, a 6'8.5" youngster out of Louisville.
Watch this hook. There is a hook right there with the left elbow in the waist of Mensah-Bonsu. But what's interesting, Thornton only played 7 minutes in the first half. He has 4 points right now, 2 to finish the half. But what's even more impressive is that Justin Cage only played 6 minutes, and he had nothing.
Did not get a lot out of the starting front line, but Will Caudle erased everything there. A lot of contact as Carl Elliott raises up and goes glass and got that to drop.
Soft touch, great move, using his physical presence to get past his man, took the contact, made the basket.
So first opportunity to get in the book tonight for Carl Elliott, and it bumps the George Washington lead back to 5. Now Justin Cage trying to bounce his way in the paint. Thornton came out of the pack. Mensah-Bonsu maybe had a hand on that and comes out of the pack with the basketball. Quick trigger off that jumper for Elliott, didn't go down. And Mensah-Bonsu had that opportunity above the rim.
You're not going to see him miss many more of those.
Stanley Burrell misfired on the 3. Dolman out of the pack, and the putback will go down for Justin Cage. And now it's Xavier staying with it on the offensive glass.
And they're being very aggressive. There is some body contact there. If they continue to be this aggressive, Michael, they're going to score around the basket, and they're going to have the opportunity to go to the free throw line.
Omar Williams got held up as he tried to slash through the paint, and that's Diedrich Finn on the held ball situation, but the arrow keeps it with George Washington.
This is what Carl Hobbs does not want to see happen. Ball put on the floor, 3 or 4 players around one guy going to the basket. It's a good reach in, good tie up. I'd like to see him get rid of the alternating possession. Big guy, little guy. I like to see that jump ball go up in the air.
In a way, it almost penalizes the defense. Now Mensah-Bonsu going to work off that left block. Well, drop step to the hoop and left it on the side of the rim.
We have seen an anomaly. We've seen Pop miss one dunk, but I've never seen him miss two back-to-back.
Well, Stanley Burrell got a little bit out of whack of that pass, never found Brian Thornton, and then Justin Dolman got hit with the Xavier foul.
Here's a great spin move to the baseline. Pop goes up and under, but couldn't finish the dunk. But that last foul by Dolman, I want to talk about it. That is a foul of frustration. I mean, Xavier's being aggressive. They're getting some, what they think weak calls called against them. Dolman's frustrated, kind of got a little unnerved and decided he was going to just take a cheap one.
That's Omar Williams, the junior out of Philadelphia, stroking that jumper. So Omar Williams, for the first time tonight, getting in the book. He went 4 minutes without any points. Look at that drop step around the rim and the strong finish again for Brian Thornton.
Thornton's crafty. He may not be the most physical presence out on the court. Does not seem very athletic, but his footwork is impeccable. And you saw him dip to the baseline, show the ball, carry a bit. He bit hard. He went straight to the basket. Thornton finished with a nice layup.
Now TJ Thompson back in. Oh, that's pretty. That's that drop step and spinning in the paint.
Can't teach that one.
George Washington just turned it over, and then to compound the problem, Omar Williams just reached in, and he'll get whistled with the first personal foul against George Washington here in the second half. Sean Miller going with Justin Cage along with Diedrich Finn, Justin Dolman, Stanley Burrell, and Brian Thornton. His starting five that he opened this one up with tonight.
This is a potentially dangerous situation for GW.
Diedrich Finn said, why can't that iron be kind to me? He had that three halfway in the hole that rattled out on him.
Well, you know, we talked about it earlier. You got open looks, you take the shot, you got to stick them. If not, it's hard to win in this gym. George Washington is playing inspired basketball, but they're not doing enough to put Xavier away.
Not that J.R. Pinnock miss. Xavier to the offensive end again. Diedrich Finn slashes through the paint. This is Burrell. Can't dial up that three. It'll stay with, nope, it's going back to George Washington. And Sean Miller was trying to buy that call. Burrell had that good look at the three, but now Xavier falls to just 3 of 14 from long distance here tonight.
And you know what? If it's not dropping, there's another way to get a basket. They've done it already earlier this half with Thornton. They did it with Caudle. They got to go to the hole.
I'm feeling you, big man. Spoken like a man who liked to mix it up in the paint.
I love mixing it up in the paint.
I know you did. That step-back jumper wouldn't go from Mike Hall. So both clubs come out a little bit chilly. Now Burrell gave it up. Justin Cage in the paint, and he'll finish with some strength.
Pretty nice basketball so far by Xavier. They're playing an up-tempo style of basketball, pushing the ball up the court and attacking the basket, especially with Pops on the bench.
Yeah, here comes the Musketeers now. This crowd here in the Smith Center sensing it. That Justin Cage hoop brings Xavier back to within one. Do not go anywhere. We're going to take it like this right down maybe to the last possession tonight. Now off that ball fake. TJ Thompson misfiring. Now Xavier will throw it away. About ready to say they could take the lead, but they never got to the offensive end, something that will not please that man, Sean Miller, and his coaching staff. Justin Cage got the opportunity from Stanley Burrell, and Cage made the definitive move to the hoop to pull Xavier to within one. Cincinnati, John, and that's crosstown shootout in Cincy.
Well, they thought the season was over. Everyone thought they were dead because David West went to the NBA and nothing good was going to happen, but they forgot about Lionel Chalmers and Romain Sato. And as you can see, Xavier is just one of those teams that have 8+ winning seasons of all the active teams in the NCAA right now. Look at their company: Arizona, Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, Maryland, Stanford, and Charleston. Pretty good company to keep.
It is. That'll get you in a good neighborhood. And winning 20 or better in 8 consecutive seasons, 3 straight years of 25 wins plus.
You know what happens when you go into a good neighborhood, right? Your property value goes up.
Right. And you can no longer fly under the radar, can you?
Exactly.
Carl Hobbs not happy as his ball club turns it over. And now George Washington will apply pressure. And relax it as Diedrich Finn We'll bring his Xavier Musketeers into the front court.
Well, George Washington is already 2 for 8 this half. They have 3 turnovers, and we haven't even played 6 minutes yet.
And remember the turnover story that haunted Carl Hobbs' squad Saturday down in Richmond, Virginia, when they miscued 26 times. This is a basketball team that per night only turns it over 16 times. So they went a plus 10, and that plus 10 is the bad direction.
Well, you have the opportunity to see a great player at 18, 19 years old in the NBA do a lot of things, and what he has, I'm talking about LeBron James, he sees the game before the game develops. I don't think Carl Hobbs has anyone on the court that sees the game develop just yet, but by the time they get into tournament time, the experience will kick in of this young GW team. They have the intensity. Now they need the poise and the patience to go out there and establish themselves, not as a good team, because they're already a good team, but they need to establish themselves as a great team.
You're right, and that's 2 components, poise, patience, that Carl Hobbs speaks rather at length about for his ball club. Justin Cage gave it up. Dolman with a clean look at it, and he'll bury that 3 for the Xavier lead.
And you got to watch out. He has that French lick look. I mean, he has that jump shot coming over that right ear that floats. It's high. It's going to drop.
Justin Dolman got what he wanted. That little bit of daylight, and he delivered. Xavier on top. 6 minutes in, pops Mensah-Bonsu with tremendous body control, but Mensah-Bonsu is down and holding the, he's trying to get to his feet and trying to shake that off. What a huge sigh of relief emanates through this building and seeing Mensah-Bonsu get up quickly.
You don't want to see this guy injured at all because he works so hard. He plays the game the way the game should be played. You can't help but be inconsistent when you play this hard sometimes, because inconsistency does not come with just playing hard. Sometimes it comes with not thinking, but when you see your inspirational leader on the court go down, it hurts.
Mensah-Bonsu just tied it up. Diedrich Finn trying to float his way through the paint. Now Elliott will push it and gave it up. Just lost the basketball. A lot of numbers, Xavier. Dolman found Cage running the left edge of the floor. Cage went glass off the assist from Justin Dolman.
And you remember we talked about high-scoring, high-octane type of basketball game, and we said the key was going to be getting back on defense. If you don't play defense, you can get run out of this gym. And right now, Xavier has walked down GW, and GW continues to turn the ball over.
Mike Hall tried to touch up that 3, and that's going to be Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who got whistled. He was entangled with Justin Dolman, and Mensah-Bonsu got hit with a personal foul.
You know, the game boils down to fundamentals, and if we can see that last play, you will see that Justin Dolman is a very fundamentally sound basketball player. What these fans do not understand is that Dolman literally popped Mensah-Bonsu out. He rolled him, look, he's boxing, he's riding him out, and that's just a great box out by Dolman. So credit Dolman for the hard work.
That's number 3 on Pops Mensah-Bonsu, and that'll get Omar Williams, a junior out of Philadelphia, back, as Pops will have to take a seat. Well, let's mark that down. Mensah-Bonsu going out with 13:10 left with his very personal foul, and Xavier up by 2. Cage got in trouble as he tried to cross over. Stanley Burrell. Plenty of time in that shot clock. It's a 12. Thornton wanted it, and he'll throw it down in a man-sized fashion, making himself very, very big around the rim.
I mean, you can't come up any bigger than this. Xavier showing their fortitude on the road, not giving up after playing a sloppy first half. Right now, they're protecting the basketball, and they know that their shots aren't going down from outside, Michael. And what do? They pass the ball inside to Thornton, and he comes home.
Well, he did not scratch the scorebook, Brian Thornton, in the first half, but we told you as we again opened the show tonight that he would be an interesting factor in what happens in the inside game for Xavier.
Well, he shows his basketball intelligence by posting his player up. The defensive is playing on the high side. He's showing his outside hand going towards the basket. It was a great lead pass, and then he knew that GW is an athletic team, the type of team that likes to try to block shots. He has the presence of mind of being patient up underneath the basket, doing a great job finishing.
Well, how big a swing could that be? You see Justin Dolman just stroked a couple of free throws after Mike Hall got hit with a technical foul. Normally a mild-mannered junior from Chicago, Mike Hall. Averages close to a double-double, and now suddenly, after Pops Mensah-Bonsu went down with 13-10 left, this lead balloons to 6.
Well, you don't blame the referee because you're not protecting the basketball. That's what's happening. When you can't score, when you're not getting the ball, blame yourself. The ball is not being passed crisp around the horn, and what's happening is that all the players on GW team is feeling that sense of urgency, and they get frustrated, and then the referees all of a sudden come into play.
Just saw the freshman of Xavier from Nigeria, Churchill Odia, just got hit with the personal foul as Mike Hall looks on from that GW bench. So the Xavier lead is a half dozen, their largest of the night. Thompson off the bounce. That's Carl Elliott. Never got to the rim, but he'll take the assist as Omar Williams dropped it in the hole.
Well, Omar has to step up his game. I know it was a bad shot, actually an air ball. Williams picks it up, but he has to show a lot more intensity. I know you wanted to be a pass, but
Carl Elliott said, give me the assist. And now this crowd, close to 5,000 here inside the raucous Smith Center.
And you got to keep an eye on that battle between Thornton and Courier. They're battling hard down low.
Now that whistle is going to get T.J. Thompson trying to fight through that pick of Bruce Thornton, and that's a big pick to get through. Thornton is 6'8.5" at 240 pounds. Carl Hobbs wants to talk to his ball club. So we're inside the 12-minute mark. Such a tough place to win. Here is the Smith Center. Xavier trying to get it accomplished.
We've already lost quality basketball players to the NBA, and this is the type of guy that can come in and establish himself as a featured post player. As you can see, they've lost Romain Sato, who's with the Spurs, Lionel Thomas, second-round draft pick by the Clippers, Anthony Miles, who's overseas right now playing basketball in Spain, and they lost a quality coach.
Yeah, Thad Matta now on the sidelines in the Big Ten of the Buckeyes of Ohio State. So Brian Thornton, there, the transfer from Vanderbilt, with 4 double-doubles. He's had some big games, and some of the biggest they played this year. Went 6 of 7 from the floor against Iowa State. And Thornton has made his presence felt. Wants it inside. Brian Thornton lost the basketball as he wanted to explode to the hoop. Once again, George Washington sloppy and turns it over. And Xavier returns the favor as Xavier's Stanley Burrell could not get his hands on the basketball, as that is Xavier's 12th turnover. GW just turned it over for the 14th time a moment ago.
I have a blank stare on my face because I really can't believe, because these are two excellent, two greatly coached teams. These guys can actually go out and play the game of basketball. The coaches are proficient in what they do. I don't understand sometimes the mental mistakes a player makes, but they happen.
Off that Omar Williams missed jumper, they got Williams a look on the baseline. Pops Mensah-Bonsu back on the floor now. And watch this muscular battle between Mensah-Bonsu and the man he's checking, Brian Thornton. Thornton got swallowed up, still muscled it up on the glass. Out of the pack, T.J. Thompson. Thompson on the sprint to the rim, and he's going to get to the free throw line for the Colonials.
And that is a battle down low. You see Thornton trying to battle 2-3 Colonial players up underneath the basket, trying to challenge him from getting the score. But you see T.J. Thompson right now. I don't think T.J. has actually scored for the game. He, and along with backcourt teammate Elliott, normally averages about 24 points a game. Right now, between the two of them, they only have 2.
And T.J. Thompson at 15 points a game, shoots it very, very well. There you see all the numbers. First in the A-10, and that work from outside the arc. T.J. Thompson trying to draw his Colonials back to within 2 if he can connect down this second from the charity line. Thompson, who goes about 30 minutes a night for that man, head coach Carl Hobbs, perfect from the stripe, and now George Washington back to within 2, and just the first time in the book tonight, huh, for T.J. Thompson.
And what a way to get it, in a way in which he goes to the free throw line and have to work the hard way to get the 2 points.
T.J. Thompson has played against some of the very best in college basketball, as that foul is going to go on Thompson. How about this? Faced off against T.J. Ford in Texas. Jameer Nelson, of course, the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year last year at St. Joe. Steve Blake, John Gilchrist, both from Maryland, and Blake Stepp from Gonzaga. So he has faced the very, very best in college basketball.
Well, since you put it that way, let me run off my list of players that the A-10 has produced.
Omar Williams just produced that rejection as he swatted Justin Cage.
Well, you want to talk about players. Romaine Sato, Lionel Chalmers, Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, David West, Russell Butler, Lamar Odom, Marcus Camby, Brian Grant, Eddie Jones, Aaron McKee, and Rick Brunson.
That's a star-studded cast. Omar Williams just fouled J.R. Pinnock for that quick deuce. And now this crowd comes up as we hit the halfway point of half number 2, and it's all even at 48.
The name of the game from now on, Mike, is going to be who can protect the basketball.
Well, look at the battle between Mensah-Bonsu and Thornton on the block. And Sean Miller wants a timeout. He got that timeout with the shot clock at 15.
He called that timeout because he thought he was going to get a 5-second closely guarded call. That was a great timeout by Coach Miller.
All right, don't go anywhere. This is what you're getting around the rims tonight. That evened it up as Omar Williams found J.R. Pinnock. It is all even at 48 apiece as Xavier and George Walker. Our 8 co-players of the week, that outstanding junior guard out of Simon Gratz High School. Now with John Shady at Temple. Marty Collins, just sensational last week. Averaged almost 20 and 10. 4th of the nation in steals. And how about Monty Scott of Dayton on the A-10 west side. The sophomore from Reynoldsburg, Ohio, averaged 17. And for the rookies, I'm going to stay on that Simon Gratz team. Bryant Dunston out of Fordham with a very, very stellar week. 4th Rookie of the Week award. And young Mark Tyndale from Simon Gratz High School in Philadelphia. He was big in that win over Xavier along with Marty Collins.
I tell you what, Dunston was big with that win with Fordham over Xavier. I mean, I've seen a lot of freshman ball players play the game of basketball, but this guy understands it.
Speaking of understanding, Carl Elliott just fouled Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who brought it down strong to put George Washington back on top.
I don't understand, does the ball and the rim have a magnet together when Pops touches it? Because every time he touches the ball, he seems to find that rim with ease.
The defensive pressure again being dialed up, as is the temperature here inside the Smith Center.
You gotta reward. I mean, talk about the pressure that GW's putting on Xavier's offense. They're not allowing for any dribble penetration to happen.
Shot clock at 5. Burrell's got nowhere to go. Thornton's got to lift it. Not where he wants to take that jumper from 60 feet on that foul line extended left.
No, he didn't want to take that jump shot. I mean, Xavier has been heating it up inside with Thornton scoring 6 points and Dover with 5. But this time they had to go and take an outside jump shot. Thornton must step up this game by being able to shoot that 15-footer.
Omar Williams dived right to the front of the rim and dropped it in the hole. This is a 10-0 George Washington run. They've come from 6 down to go up 4.
And I don't understand why Coach Miller's not calling a timeout. A 10-0 run is a lot in basketball, especially with the hostile crowd. Diedrich
Finn didn't finish. Look at the ups of Justin Cage. That'll go. And one coming on that George Washington foul that's going to go on Omar Williams. Wonderful anticipation from Justin Cage.
I think Coach Miller just taught me how to shut up because he didn't need a timeout because he knew that Cage was ready to come. A great move by Cage, getting to the basket, first on the rebounding, and then having the presence of mind to go up and finish under strong pressure while getting fouled.
You know, talking to Sean Miller and one of his assistants, Monty Mathis, they both said worried about the physicality of George Washington. You can understand it, too, because Xavier's missing a couple of key components in the paint, and Brandon Cole and also Boubacar Cauley. 2 guys, 6'8", 6'9", 240. That would have that presence, both of them with season-ending surgeries. And Justin Dolman just raked it away from Carl Elliott, the 15th George Washington turnover.
Yeah, but I tell you, if you knock down jump shots, you don't miss those guys too much. These guys from Xavier have had plenty of open looks going to the basket, shooting a jump shot. They just have not been able to knock them down consistently.
And Justin Cage on that offensive glass a moment ago. He and Brian Thornton and Will Caudle have been solid on the offensive glass tonight. And the George Washington lead is won as Omar Williams went right to the rim. Right back to the Smith Center on the 810 Network.
Also try Texas Pete Buffalo Wing Sauce.
Want to remind you, if you enjoy A10 hoop action like this, stay dialed in. This is what we have coming up on the men's side. Ryan Gregory takes Dayton in to see the Rhode Island Rams on Thursday night. And then Saturday, the Spiders of Richmond head up to check out the UMass Minutemen. Sunday, Dayton comes in here to the Smith Center to see Carl Hobbs and George Washington. Now, on the women's side, Fordham goes to Rhode Island. That's Thursday at 12 p.m. And then Sunday, Xavier at number 24 Temple. John, I think it's the first time the women's program, the Temple Owls, has been ranked in the top 25.
Well, did you expect anything any differently? I mean, you got Dawn Staley, consummate All-American when she was playing at Virginia. WNBA, I mean, if you can call a woman a stud. Gold medals for the Olympic, and now she's taking Temple to the upper echelon of women's basketball.
And all of that coming up here on the A10 network. And as we speak of the work Dawn Staley's done, going to the free throw line is going to be Justin Cage. As once again, that front line of Xavier, rather in different character than the first half. They're attacking the rim every chance they get, as Cage will rattle down his first from the stripe.
Well, the difference between the first half and now is that there's 16 points scored in the paint by the front line. The 20 points that they scored in the entire first half was strictly going to the basket, maybe off a layup, but nothing really trying to isolate Thornton inside. Caudle did all the damage earlier. This time it's Thornton.
Justin Cage on his per night average of 11. He's also got 8 boards to go with it as he connects on a couple to put Xavier back on top. Great to have you part of it tonight out of the Smith Center in our nation's capital. Michael Regai, John Spencer, our producer John Slobodkin, director Mike Sheehan, and all of our very talented A10 television network crew. Best in the business down here in Washington, D.C. And we've got a push on Justin Dolman as Dolman gave a shot to Pops Mensah-Bonsu. Take a look at our U.S. Airways out-of-town scoreboard in the first half. Quakers a pen, doubling up, +1 on St. Joe's early against Phil Martelli and the Hawks. St. Joe's playing very, very well after losing Jameer Nelson and Dante West, 5-1 in the A10.
Michael, that's why they call it a team. I mean, it wasn't just Delonte and Jameer. You had Carroll, you had Stakaitis, you had Lee. I mean, come on, you have a great team, not just great individual basketball players. Phil Martelli understands, he knows the game, and he's carrying that success from last year right over to this year.
Look at Omar Williams float in from the weak side and stick back that floater from J.T. Thompson. So Omar Williams starting to get the feeling of his offensive game here in the second half. GW back up 1. And now off the ball, I think they got Omar Williams. And they did, and Williams got hit with trying to fight through a pick. And now that is, of course, team foul number 9 on GW.
And those 9 fouls can be dangerous. Well, here you see right now, Omar Williams establishing himself underneath the basket, being aggressive, attacking the rebound. They're going to need him. This game is going to be like a game in the park. It's going to be seesaw. It's going to be back and forth. These things right here, this charity stripe thing you call a free throw, is going to be the key at the end of the ball game.
Justin Cage now a perfect 4 for 4 from the stripe. He got 12 tonight, sitting on the cusp of double-double. The young man that made 18 starts as a freshman last season for then head coach Thad Matta in that run to the Elite Eight. And Carl Hobbs and his George Washington coaching staff won a 30-second timeout. We're mentioning Carl Hobbs not pleased with some of the lack of valuing the basketball, John, for a better lack of a better way to put it, in GW's loss at Richmond on Saturday, and then falling from the top 25. This is how Carl Hobbs felt about the loss. And again, it's all about, you go what, over the radar screen when you get the top 25, and Carl Hobbs knows about guys that played in the NBA. He saw a lot of those when he was with Jim Calhoun at UConn.
But you know, sometimes it becomes a taste of success, becomes so sweet, you want to try to just take it all and just chew it up and keep it inside and have your chest feel all big and proud. And what happens is that teams like UMass, teams like Richmond, not getting as much exposure, flying underneath that radar, are hungry for a win. When you're full off of sweetness, it's easy to sit back and, rub your stomach. But when you don't have a lot of wins like UMass and Richmond, you come in hungry, better watch out.
Well, that's challenging this ball club, right? Bring up the names of Ray Allen and Rip Hamilton and Emeka Okafor. Now Thompson will look at the three. T.J. Thompson to sweet stroke that triple. And that is his first field goal make of the night. The young man who averages 15 a game, and that's a huge tray.
And so far, Xavier's done a great job of keeping GW from shooting a lot of three-pointers. Williams doesn't have any. T.J. Thompson goes out and knocks down probably what could be his biggest basket to spark GW for the rest of the evening.
Keith Jackson, the senior, back on the floor for Xavier. Stanley Burrell. Jackson will stick it for the Xavier tie. Keith Jackson got the look, and he laced it.
Keith Jackson has all the tools to go out and play the game. He just has to believe in himself, establish his confidence, and be that factor coming off the bench that Xavier needs.
He's been very active tonight. Now this is Mike Hall. Mike Hall to bottom out the tray. The long distance hit from Hall.
Well, there's no quicker way to open up a lead as a three-point shot won by T.J. Thompson, back-to-back one by Mike Hall, and we get a timeout.
Now Sean Miller counters with the 30-second Xavier timeout. Now you start to wonder now, as with confidence, both T.J. Thompson and Mike Hall stepped into those threes. And a couple of threes in the last 48 seconds, and here they are.
Well, I'll tell you, T.J. Thompson, you know he can shoot the basketball. He leads the Atlantic 10 in three-pointers taken and scoring. He had scored 48 for the whole season. Hall is the type of guy that you don't really expect for him to come out and shoot the three-pointer. You kind of fall asleep on him, and when he steps outside, you see he has good mechanics, good form, and a sweet touch.
Because of all the bonanza that's taken place beyond the three-point arc, I got to ask you, partner, are you maybe in favor of moving that line back a little bit in the collegiate game, thereby maybe enhancing the players' fundamentals, the mechanics of shooting that mid-range jumper?
You know what? I'm going to take it a little bit further than that, Michael, because I believe that basketball should have a standard all over the world, not just in college basketball. Minutes in high school are different from college. The minutes in college are different from pros. So when you graduate from high school to college and from college to the pros, the game changes. So there needs to be a lot more consistency in the style of play that we play. You saw that in the Olympics. Different style of basketball. We can't compete. I said we can't compete. We can compete, but we're not competing at that level anymore because of the rule differences.
Well, speaking of threes, we've turned into a three-point shooting gallery now as Stanley Burrell just dropped that three for Xavier on their last trip to tie it up. And it's all even at 60 apiece now. We're inside the 5-minute mark. Buckle up. Burrell again in rhythm. Three wouldn't fall as Omar Williams will take off the Burrell miss.
And Burrell has been kind of quiet the entire game, so look for him to try to turn up the pace a little bit and force GW to extend their defensive pressure out on him and try to get some baskets inside. J.R.
Pinnock not able to three, and that's going to be a push on Omar Williams. And that's going to walk it down, and now double bonus time for Xavier. That's team foul number 10 on George Washington. And Xavier will be shooting it twice, and that's number 4 as well on that young man, Omar Williams.
Well, remember the first half, the foul count was 11-6. Xavier had a bunch of fouls, didn't have a chance to shoot a free throw the entire first half. Now you see the thing is flip-flop. It's 10-5. Xavier's already in the double bonus, and you know this game is going to come down to free throw shooting.
Now the Musketeers of Xavier, they come in here tonight at 2 up and 3 down in the A10 West. Trying to even their slate on this very, very tough home floor for the road ball clubs. You see Carl Elliott check it back in. Elliott, the 6'4" sophomore, out of Brooklyn, New York City.
So that last free throw shot by Thornton, nice form. One problem, he shoots it flat. He needs to get that ball up in the air, gives this ball a chance to go into the rim. You shoot it like a ping pong ball back at you, it's going to recoil the same way.
Ryan Thornton just split the pair of throws, and Xavier back on top by the slightest of margins. The Muskies lead at 1. So it's Carl Elliott along with T.J. Thompson, Pops Mensah-Bonsu, Omar Williams, and Mike Hall. Williams showed it and then gave it up. Elliott, clean look at the three, and came up on the side of the iron.
You know, Michael, they actually missed the perfect opportunity. Elliott went to, I'm sorry, it was Hall went to the basket. Williams is open on the short corner. They missed him on a nice little drop pass. It could have been an easy layup. Now they have to go out and settle for a three-point shot, get the ball back to Xavier.
In the hands of Diedrich Finn, their orchestrator of the offense for Sean Miller. 3:45 left in it. Shot clock will hit 10. Xavier with the basketball and up by 1. Finn, the float in the paint. and got the roll. Diedrich Finn touched that up, and it fell for him. And Carl Hobbs wants a George Washington timeout.
Now you're seeing the coaching strategies come into play. Coach Miller, he calls a 30-second timeout. Coach Hobbs sees it run 63-60, and he says, hey, I got to do something. We're not getting good looks at the basket. We're not getting any scoring inside. And as you can see, the nice screen by Thornton Freak Finn. And look at the nice soft touch. Kind of reminds me of you, Michael, with your jump shot.
Yeah, well, the game's ground bound now, but I still shoot a little bit. As we look at Sean Miller and his Xavier Musketeer bench, and if you're Sean Miller, you look at the last 3 head coaches. Now, that looks like a who's who of some of the best of the business. Pete Gillen from New York City, who started it in his run, and then through Skip Prosser, and then Thad Monajan.
Well, I mean, what can you say? I mean, you said it before. He comes from a great basketball pedigree. And this is the type of challenge that all great people that come from great pedigrees want to go out and attack. He's going to keep this program as one of the top 25 or top 30 teams in the country. He's going through a transition year right now. He's not playing with his players that he necessarily recruited as a head coach. He's going to be very successful.
Well, you saw their first years a moment ago. We flipped that graphic over in there. Pete Gillen in 9 seasons, wanted a 73% clip. Skip Prosser, very, very close to Gillen, was on his staff, and then Thad Mata. So it's been the evolution of coaching genius on the campus of the Xavier Musketeers.
And you know, they did a great job of retaining those quality coaches. And notice, they didn't go outside to look for a candidate. They actually got their candidate from in-house.
They have, and that is something they believe in strongly. 5 ties, 11 lead changes. GW is up 8. And again, both, you weren't with us from the start. Shame on you. Where have you been? But both these ball clubs coming off losses on Saturday. And Xavier's was more difficult because it came at home at the Cintas Center, as they got waylaid by Temple, while GW lost down at Richmond. All right, with 3:20 left now, 3-point Xavier advantage. Carl Elliott being checked by Diedrich Finn.
The 3-minute mark should be like a baseball game in the 7th inning. It needs to have someone standing up singing a song or something, because this is where the game really gets tough.
Brian Thornton, what, about 32, 33 feet out on the floor away from the hoop, and got caught in no man's land, and that's Xavier's 6th team foul, and number 4 on Thornton. They'll go away. Xavier by 3 when we get back. Back inside the Smith Center, let's take a look at our Canada Business Solutions. Gabe Story with 3:08 left, and both these clubs continue to shoot it well. Washington's got to the line a little bit more, but it's been Xavier that just seemed to come out with the purpose to make sure they got the basketball attack in the hoop here in the second half.
We know Pops has been in and out of the game in the entire second half, and it's given Xavier the opportunity to go out and attack that rim. Plus, Xavier just looks hungry.
Diedrich Finn now pressuring T.J. Thompson. Omar Williams off the crossover. Williams in traffic. How did he get that to go down with the Xavier foul? That is going to go on Keith Jackson.
Take a look at that. I mean, he's moving in and out. Look at how that dribble is. I thought he was going to turn the ball over, but he has the presence of mind to turn around. Looks like he actually initiated the contact, hitting Dolman in the face with an elbow, but he finishes the shot, gets the foul. Now he has a chance to go tie the game with 2:56, Mike.
Yeah, I'll correct that. That foul on Justin Dolman. And Omar Williams has had a big second half. With his 10 points and 7 boards, and Justin Dolman picking up number 5, so he will be through for the evening. As now George Washington has an opportunity to tie this one up.
And that's a big loss for Xavier, because Dolman can go out, hit the 3-pointer. He's able to slash to the basket, pull up, hit the little 10-foot skill shot off the glass. He's an excellent free throw shooter, and he's long and athletic. Now you're going to come in with Miles, who, you know, has senior leadership, needs to step it up a little bit. Been playing great today. If he can continue to do what he's doing now, GW has to be careful.
A big second half for this 6'9" Willowy Jr. out of Philadelphia. Omar Williams. They tie it at 63 apiece. And Carl Hobbs imploring his ball club to There's some defense here. We're inside 3 minutes left. All even at 63. Diedrich Finn off that Brian Thornton pick. Justin Cage. Look at the battle between Brian Thornton and Pops Mensah-Bonsu. Lifting that three, Stanley Burrell. Taken off by Mensah-Bonsu. George Washington with an opportunity to go back on top.
I didn't want to say a word because all I can hear in this stadium are the fans going defense, defense, defense. When you got a home stand like this and you got these great fans behind you, you have to play great basketball for them because they're inspiring.
The basketball in the hands of Carl Elliott. Operates with J.R. Pinnock, Omar Williams, Mike Hall, and Mensah-Bonsu. Shot clock still running. It's at 5. Rip away. Soloing is Stanley Burrell. He got rejected. Rejected by J.R. Pinnock. Sensational rejection. And that's an offensive foul now on J.R. Pinnock as he tried to off that swat of Burrell, trying to finish at the offensive end and got hit with a charge.
And Burrell is still amazed that the referee did not call offensive basket interference, but you got to reward J.R. He's been working real hard since 5 o'clock this afternoon. Pinned the ball against the glass, but you know what? GW does the unthinkable. They turn the ball over again.
It'll give it right back to Xavier. So the absolutely brilliant defensive play from J.R. Pinnock, but then he charges. Their 17th turnover of the night. Minute 35 left.
We talked about that poise and that patience with Carl Hobbs. You know, J.R. did a great job blocking the shot. Throw the ball back out. Get yourself a good shot on basket.
Xavier returns the favor. Got sloppy with that cross-court pass. Muskie's turned it over. A minute 21 left with Carl Hobbs watching George Washington timeout.
I can't imagine being in this situation, being in your home gym, needing a win in the Atlantic 10 and having to go out and play against a pesky team like Xavier, who has a rich history of winning basketball games. 2 great basketball minds on the sideline. Can't imagine being in that situation.
Well, we have this chance to catch our collective breath. Let's take a look at our Bridgestone Firestone drive of the game. It's brought to you by your local Firestone Tire and Service Center. Your #1 choice for all your tire and service needs. #1 choice for George Washington. #1, Omar Williams.
When in doubt, go to the hole. Omar does just that. Gets the foul, the basket, and the free throw to tie the game up at 63-63. Here you see Omar Williams with the handle, the crossover, the spin move, the elbow, the basket.
And he fouled out Justin Dolman in the process. This has been absolutely terrific, and while we have a second, we certainly want to thank head coach Sean Miller and sports information director Tom Iser and all of the staff at Xavier for all of their help and preparation to say with Carl Hobbs and SID Brad Bowers here at George Washington.
You know what? Both universities are great at getting you the information you need when you need it. You can call them at almost any time, and makes our job a lot easier.
Now we're going to hit the 60-second mark right now. Shot clock at 6. This is Carl Elliott. Elliott will raise up. Wet glass and got it to drop for the George Washington lead.
We talked about T.J. Thompson and Carl Elliott not really producing earlier as far as the scoring is concerned. Right now, Elliott goes out, gives the Colonials the lead. What are they going to do with it?
How about Elliott? He's only 1 for 6 for the floor and stepped up and took the big leaner that went down. Now what does Xavier counter with? 15 on the shot clock. Justin Cage. That's an offensive foul on Justin Cage. Omar Williams took the charge.
The game is not over. It is not over. The fans are up on their feet. The crowd's cheering. GW comes up. They got to get the ball in bounds, #1. There is a possibility that there will be a foul because GW has to go to the free throw line. It's only a 2-point basketball game, so it means it's a 1-possession game. Anything can happen in 32 seconds.
Xavier with back-to-back turnovers at the offensive end. They're going to try to play defense and get this rip away here before they feel plenty of time left. And you see it forced T.J. Thompson into taking that timeout. They had that trap going, John, deep in that corner by the Xavier bench.
Well, luckily they did have timeout because Xavier really wanted to go out and take that ball away. The interesting thing is now is that there's no more time left on the shot clock. GW can actually go and run the ball out, but you can expect for that clock to run down about 10, maybe 9 seconds before they go out to pick up a foul and put him on the free throw line. But they got to make sure they foul the proper person.
This is not unfamiliar territory for the Musketeers of Xavier. Look at some of the close and very tough to swallow losses they've had. A couple of on the road at Tennessee. The triple overtime thriller that turned into a UMass win up at Amherst. And then the loss at Fordham, the turnover that caused it some 9 days ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the Fordham game was really interesting because it was a dunk. 8 seconds left to go in the game. Anderson dribbles the ball up the court and gets a dunk. This time, you have Elliott going to the hole, getting to the basket, finishing around the rim. The A-10 is going to always bring you exciting basketball, but I've had the opportunity to work too many of them because I'm about to have a heart attack.
Settle down, big man. We don't want to lose you. As our stat man Marty Aronoff pointed out, with 3:35 left, Xavier was up 63-60. 5-0, George Washington sets. 20 seconds left. Pinnacle break pressure. Now, when does Xavier go get him? Sean Miller saying, got to go wrap up T.J. Thompson, and Diedrich Finn will do that. Thompson going to the line. If he connects twice, it's going to make it a 2-possession game in favor of George Washington.
You know what's interesting? I did the GWU Mass game, and I saw back-to-back, I saw a 3-point shot taken with the foul. And then it turned around and happened again in the second half. The first time I'd ever seen a 4-point play in one basketball game. So things can happen, Mike.
T.J. Thompson, there you see it. Perfect 2 for 2 tonight. He came up short. Xavier got a chance with 10 seconds left. Down by a deuce, and Sean Miller gets a timeout as he got the attention of Stanley Burrell, the freshman out of Indianapolis. 9.3 left. Sean Miller is going to draw it up on his Xavier bench with his coaching staff.
You know, Steve Herbert of the Atlantic 10 asked me, why are you driving? Well, I said the timetable of the train doesn't help me because I've been in more games in the Atlantic 10, and there's always been overtime. If I had to catch a 9:30 train right now, I might be in trouble.
Great to have Associate Commissioner Steve Herbert here with us, and he'd have to drive you back.
Exactly.
Driving has been a concentrated effort for Xavier. That's how they got back into this one, going strong to the hoop. John, what do you think Sean Miller has in mind now as we take a look at Diedrich Finn, who put him on top a moment ago?
Well, I think he has to be aggressive. I know you've seen enough basketball to understand that the way you get second chance opportunity is create a situation by getting dribble penetration, drawing the double team, either kicking it out for a shot or trying to finish around the basket. One thing you don't want to do is that you don't want to run that clock out so much, whereas you don't get a second chance opportunity if indeed you do miss a shot.
You know, wouldn't surprise me at all. I know Sean Miller, he's got the cool of a riverboat gambler. Maybe Finn off some dribble penetration with Stanley Burrell spotted up to maybe drop a deep one and go home with a W. Who knows?
Like Stu says, drop it like it hot.
So we'll see. The deuce would tie it. The 3 might win it. With 5 left, this is Finn. Burrell, there's your 3. Got it! He bottomed out that tray with 3/10 left. And this one is over at the Smith Center. I thought Sean Miller might have that in mind. And Stanley Burrell, 1 of 8 from long range. He's hit the home run to win it for Xavier.
Mike, I think you're clairvoyant. You said it was going to be a great game, high intensity. Did you just not just say, what about Burrell? What do you got going on? You got like a Ouija board around here or something?
I know how Sean Miller likes to operate. Overtime, didn't want overtime. Throw it up from beyond the arc to try to win it. Let's look at how Stanley Burrell, cool as could be, got it to fall.
And they do a great job playing defense. They switch out hand in the face. Burrell just hits a nice off-balance shot. That means you can't ask for anything more from your defense if you're George Washington.
Look at the reaction to this Xavier bench. Stanley Burrell with that just absolutely heart-stopping 3 for the Xavier win.
And you see Coach Miller has the presence of mind to tell his team, we got 0.3 seconds left on the clock. There's enough time to get a shot off, so he's encouraging his guys to get back on defense, get back on D.
Well, we just mentioned that Xavier had been just absolutely heartsick at so many close losses. But Stanley Burrell, 36% from long distance, was only 1 of 8 before he found the stroke that won it for the Xavier Musketeers. John Spencer, now you can breathe. It's over. Xavier with a huge road win. Hope you enjoyed it tonight. Xavier on the Stanley Burrell triple beats George Washington with 3/10 left at 66-65. Don't forget, Dayton's Flyers go see the Rams of Rhode Island Thursday at 7 o'clock. The preceding the production of the Atlantic 10 Television Network. Now for John Spencer and all of our outstanding crew, I'm Michael Regai. Stanley Burrell with a triple that brings home a win for Xavier. Good night.